Thanks for listening. If you're on social media, you saw today Mississippi State unveiled a really cool new uniform. And I'll be the first to tell you that not a fan of white helmets overall. But, and the difference is, with these, is the logo. It's the script State. You've seen it on baseball jerseys and on some polos and stuff like that. It's on the helmet. I think it looks fantastic. And it really got me to thinking today. You know, we all know, and if you're a message board warrior like I am, you know that the banner M, the traditional logo of the university that's on the helmets most weeks, it's a source of controversy, would be putting it mildly. You know, there would be people who just tell you it needs to go, straight up, hashtag retire the banner. And I get, as an academic logo, love it. Works. Great for letterheads, things like that. On the helmet, it never really worked. It never really does. I come to you today, guys. I've made a decision. I've decided that this is the future. This is the way, if you will. They need to get behind the idea of branding Mississippi State as state. I think that's the way to go. In the state of Mississippi, when you say state, everybody knows who you're talking about. I would argue that in the SEC footprint, when you say state, everybody knows who you're talking about. Now, you get up nationally, and maybe they think you're talking about Michigan State. But I would tell you this. I would say, and it's the Spider-Man thing of they're pointing at each other. I think that Michigan State has the advantage in being MSU. I think when you say MSU nationally, people first think of Michigan State. So if you say state, maybe the first thing they think isn't Michigan State. But if they say MSU, they're like, oh, you mean Michigan State. I know that NC State likes to brand itself as state a little bit, but I think I call them NC State. There's a lot of great state merchandise out there. When it gets cold, Mike Leach wears a hoodie that just says state on it. And one thing that really got me thinking, and I hope that there's a maroon version of this helmet, and I hope they wear it at the Egg Bowl. Because when we talk about the Egg Bowl in the state, how do we talk about it? It's State versus Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss versus State. We never say Mississippi State. We just say State. How great would it be if the helmets just said State and Ole Miss? I mean, that's serendipity. Now, there's a lot of resistance against rebranding at Mississippi State. People talk about the banner M and the efforts that have been put in to make that Mississippi State's national brand, and I get all that. I do. And it's not a personal issue with me. But I would say this. The banner M has been Mississippi State's logo for football since 2004, which means it includes some of the worst, most painful seasons we all had to endure. But regardless of that, how do we feel it's done its job? ESPN still mixes up State and Ole Miss every month, it seems. There's still a lot of people who can't tell you the difference between the two schools. It's been 18 years of the banner M. I mean, we're satisfied with its efforts? Or do you believe that it has done its job of creating a unique and recognizable national brand for Mississippi State? I would argue that it is not. I would argue that it's a very generic-looking logo. I would argue that Ole Miss used to have a logo that looks a lot like it that they don't use anymore. I would argue that Michigan has a similar logo, the Michigan with the M with the banner across it. Marshall, not as big a brand, obviously, as Mississippi State, but they use a banner M. I would argue that it has not succeeded in the job of creating a national brand, a recognizable logo for Mississippi State. The most recognizable Mississippi State logo is the M over S that baseball wears. When people see that, they know that's Mississippi State, because Mississippi State baseball is a national brand, former national champions. I know what you're thinking out there, Ole Miss fans. I'm not going to say it. The Banner M, I think Mississippi State should push all in to become state. To become what, when you say state, people know who you're talking about. You're talking about Mississippi State. State fans, I just said it. State fans. People who attended Mississippi State and the fans of that university, 99% of the time refer to themselves as state fans. And what these brands are for, they're to sell merchandise. Well, who's buying the merchandise? State fans. So if it says state on the shirt, it feels like it's an easy fix. You know, the idea, you want to have the logo recognizable. Great, I understand that. But and the average college football fan or the average person in Seattle, Washington, or St. Louis, Missouri, or Boston, Massachusetts, they're not looking at that logo going, oh, that's really cool, I want to wear that. Because it's not. And because it's just not that, eye-catchable, for lack of a better word. You guys, if you watch Sports Talk Mississippi on SuperTalk TV, you know I wear these college T-shirts all the time. And I find the ones I think are fun to wear. They have cool logos on them. The Banner M doesn't do that for me. But just state and script, that's a little more fun. It's a little more exciting. I don't know, and let me look at the text line here. Everybody's saying, yeah, they like it. And of course we have, the interlocking MSU is the one that everybody would kind of like to see brought back, which we were lied to about, by the way, for 20 plus years. Let's never forget that. Oh, Nike owns that logo. What a load. Anybody with a brain could see through that lie. Nike didn't own. Why would Nike want to buy Mississippi State's logo? Say it out loud and try to figure out who came up with that story. Goodness gracious. So yeah, the interlocking MSU, that's a great logo. I like it. But I feel like that is unlikely to make a return. And honestly, it's the same thing. It brands itself as MSU. And I feel like from the top there, you're playing second fiddle to Michigan State. State should be the identity of Mississippi State. Somebody says in the text line, it's the fourth word of the fight song. Hail, dear old state. Not Mississippi State, not M State. The hashtag isn't Hail M State. They don't put Hail M State in the end zone when they paint it. Hail State. Why not embrace that? I think that's the future for Mississippi State. I think the future is to become the school that nationally, when you say state, you're talking about Mississippi State. Who else could it be, right? Ohio State's never just going to be state. They're the Ohio State University. Louisiana State's never going to just be state. They're LSU. Florida State's never just going to be state. They're Florida State or FSU or the Knowles or whatever they are. There's nobody that you just say state and you know who you're talking about. Mississippi State could be that. They could be that. They have a giant opportunity to brand themselves as that, in my opinion. And if you're one of these people right now, by the way, you're like, oh, I don't care about the uniforms. Just win. You can do two things at once. There are a lot of y'all out there, too. I've seen you today on social media in between, sips of Geritol. Just saying, okay. You can do two things at once, guys. You can have good-looking uniforms and win football games at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And these uniforms, you know what they attract? Recruits. Recruits like cool new uniforms. It's been proven. They talk about it all the time on social media. So if you're one of those, I don't just wear the classic stuff. Well, you're not who they're marketing to. It's okay. Let's do what you got to do to get some recruits in there. That's what wins you football games. State. This sounds good, right? We're state fans. State versus Ole Miss. State versus Alabama. State versus Auburn. That's how we describe it anyway. Why not embrace it? Why not go all the way with it? I think that would be a wise move from the university. I think the fans would enjoy that. I think the fans would want that. You can make